Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there friends, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. Today in the Bible Bistro and all this week and for the next 3 weeks, this week included, we're going to be looking at Psalm 22. Psalm 22 is that psalm that has been kissed by the lips of Christ. As we begin the psalm, you will see some familiar language. But before we get to the beginning of the psalm, I need to look at the introduction. Here we have a little bit of a lengthy introduction. This introduction says, "Of the choir master upon the hind of the dawn, a psalm of David." Now, there's a lot of ink that's been spilled over this introduction. And a lot of it really good meditation material because there are so many things that are said of this. Several different translations, ancient translations, translate this the morning of understanding. Some have the morning hind, so just reversed of how I translated it. And others have in the midst of gloom. Morning, which is the overwhelming translation for this, is the time when Christ began his passion because he is taken to the council, he's taken to the high priest, then to the council, then to Pilate, and then on to the cross. So the passion of Christ begins in the morning, and the resurrection of Christ begins in the morning as well. The resurrection of Christ happened early on Sunday morning. Here we have the morning being the time when the hind is going to be persecuted. The hind, of course, is that animal we've seen several times in the Psalms, and it's the one that's hunted and persecuted by the hunters, killed with cruel hands after he's been driven into a trap. But then, of course, he is the hind of the dawn on the back end as well because he is resurrected from the grave. So, of the choir master upon the hind of the dawn, a psalm of David. David, whether he wanted to or not, he looks into the future and he sees what happens to his heir, to the Messiah, to the one who would sit on his throne forever. Verse 1, my God, why have you forsaken me? Far from my deliverance are the words of my complaint. My God, I call out by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but you are silent to me. So that's verse 1 and verse 2. As I said, this psalm has been kissed by the lips of Christ because we have him speaking these words on the cross. In Matthew chapter 27, verse 46, Jesus actually says these words when he is crucified on the cross. And one of the ancient commentators says of this that it is likely that Jesus began quoting, maybe for meditation, maybe as a prayer, and maybe this was written just for him so he could pray while he was on the cross. But he begins here in 22:1, and then as he dies, he is quoting from Psalm 31. So at least we know that he is going through this passage as best he can through this whole scheme of things from 22 to 31, praying the words that David wrote. And he begins right here with, my God, why have you forsaken me? Of course, as I said, these are the words that we have on the cross. I call out by day, but you do not answer. By night, you are silent to me. So we see here his full humanity on display. We saw his full humanity on display in the Garden of Gethsemane. I think that's what the by night is referring to, because he calls out to the Lord, and he says, if you will, remove this cup from me, but whatever your will is, I'll do it. Not my will, but yours be done. And so he's calling out by night, and of course we have the daytime prayer recorded for us in John chapter 17, where he prays for his church and for his disciples. So we have the daytime prayer, we have the nighttime prayer. It reveals his humanity, and here on the cross, as he cries out to God in this psalm, in the words of this psalm, we hear again his heart crying out. Now, tomorrow, we're going to look at verses 3 and 4. Do not miss tomorrow, because tomorrow is so important. We need to link together verses 3 and 4 with verse 1 and 2. Join me then here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.